First contact and defiance. The alert klaxons of New Horizon Colony pierced the artificial dawn of Frontier 7's biodome. Their urgent wail drawing Chief Engineer Maya Santos from her work on the atmospheric processors. Through the transparent panels of the dome, the binary stars cast long shadows across the settlement's prefabricated buildings, their orange and blue light creating an otherworldly twilight that never truly faded. Unidentified vessels approaching from Vector 739, the colony's AI announced, its synthetic voice eerily calm. Maya's hands tightened around her tablet as she watched three sleek, crystalline ships descend through the upper atmosphere, their hull designs unlike anything in the United Earth database. Colonel Sarah Chen's voice crackled over the emergency channel. All essential personnel to their stations. This is not a drill. The colonel's tone carried the weight of someone who had seen too many colonies fall to pirates and raiders in the Outer Rim. Maya sprinted toward the colony's central command, her boots echoing against metal gratings. The settlement's 2,000 inhabitants were already mobilizing with practiced efficiency, parents ushering children into underground shelters, while defense volunteers took up positions at the perimeter's weapon stations. Inside Central Command, Colonel Chen stood before a holographic display of the approaching vessels, her silver-streaked hair pulled tight in a regulation bun. Dr. Marcus Webb, the colony's chief historian and cultural officer, pored over data streams beside her, his dark fingers dancing across multiple interfaces. "They're not raiders," Marcus announced, adjusting his wire-rimmed glasses. "The energy signatures are too sophisticated. This is military tech, possibly even a civilization we haven't encountered before." Maya joined them at the display, her engineering expertise immediately noting the advanced propulsion systems of the alien craft. "Those ships are running on something beyond our current understanding of physics. The energy output is impossible." The largest of the alien vessels halted its descent 5 kilometers above the colony. A transmission burst through their communications system, automatically translated by their eye. The voice that emerged was smooth, almost musical, but laden with unmistakable condescension. "Primitive human settlement. This is High Commander Vextol of the Galactic Empire. Your species' expansion ends here. You will surrender this world and submit to relocation or face immediate termination. Your projectile weapons and crude energy shields are nothing against our technological supremacy. You have one planetary rotation to comply." Colonel Chen's face hardened as she studied the tactical display. The colony's defenses were modest. Automated railgun turrets, a handful of missile batteries, and an electromagnetic shield that could barely deflect meteorites, let alone whatever weapons these aliens possessed. "They're right about one thing," Maya said, pulling up schematics of their defensive capabilities. "Our weapons are primitive compared to theirs. But that doesn't mean we're helpless." She hesitated, then added, "There's something in the old military archives that might help us. A project I've been studying in my spare time." Marcus raised an eyebrow. "The archives. Those date back to Earth's pre-space age conflicts. What could possibly?" "Sometimes the old ways are the best ways," Maya interrupted, her fingers flying across her tablet. "The Zarkax expect us to fight with modern weapons. Energy beams, plasma cannons, standard colonial defense systems. But what if we gave them something they've never seen before? Something so ancient it's new again." She projected a series of schematics onto the main display. Colonel Chen's eyes widened as she recognized the designs. Modifications of 20th and 21st century Earth weapons, but with crucial updates that incorporated modern materials and power systems. "These designs, they're not in any modern military database," Chen said slowly. "The Zarkax won't have countermeasures for them because they've never encountered anything like them." "Exactly," Maya nodded. "Their shields are calibrated for energy weapons and high-velocity projectiles. But these are different. We have the fabrication facilities. We have the raw materials. We just need time." Colonel Chen studied the schematics for a long moment, then keyed the colony-wide communications system. "Attention all citizens of New Horizon. This is Colonel Chen. The Galactic Empire has demanded our surrender. They believe we are primitive, weak, inferior. She paused, letting the words sink in. They're about to learn why humanity has survived every challenge it has ever faced. We don't surrender. We adapt. We overcome. And we're about to remind them that sometimes the oldest solutions are the ones your enemies least expect. Above the colony, the Zarkak ships hung like crystalline daggers against the dual-star sky, their presence a constant reminder of the countdown to conflict. But in the workshops and fabrication plants below, humanity was about to prove once again that innovation could triumph over pure technological superiority. Maya looked at her revised schematics one last time before heading to the fabrication center. The Zarkaks thought they were facing a primitive species. They were about to learn that humanity's greatest strength wasn't in its technology, but in its ability to think differently when backed into a corner. One planetary rotation, she muttered, already calculating material requirements and power configurations. Let's make it count. The engineer's gambit. Maya's workshop hummed with activity as fabricators worked overtime, their high-pitched whine echoing through the reinforced walls of New Horizons' industrial sector. Holographic blueprints flickered in the air around her, each displaying different aspects of her modified designs. The smell of heated metal and synthetic lubricants filled the air as she examined the first prototype taking shape before her. "You're really betting our survival on this?" Marcus asked, running his hand along the partially completed barrel assembly. The historian had been helping her access detailed specifications from Earth's military archives, his expertise proving invaluable in understanding the original design principles. "Not just this," Maya replied, making a minute adjustment to the fabricator's settings. "It's what it represents. The Zarkaks have spent centuries developing defenses against energy weapons and smart projectiles. But sometimes the simplest solutions are the most effective." Outside, the colony's shield flickered as another probe from the Zarkak ships tested their defenses. Colonel Chen had ordered all non-essential personnel into the underground shelters, leaving the surface level eerily empty. The aliens' deadline was approaching, but Maya needed every minute she could get. "Status report." Chen's voice came through the workshop's comm system, tense but controlled. "First prototype is at 70% completion," Maya responded, checking the fabrication progress. "But we're running into some issues with the power distribution. The modern power cells aren't designed to handle this kind of rapid, sustained discharge." "Can you solve it?" Maya studied the energy flow diagrams floating before her. "Yes, but we'll need to cannibalize some of the colony's backup generators. The older technology actually works better for this application." "Do it," Chen ordered. "Whatever you need." The workshop door slid open as a team of engineers entered, pushing trolleys loaded with dismantled generator parts. Among them was Kai Patel, a young mechanical specialist whose eyes widened at the sight of the prototype. "Is that what I think it is?" he asked, moving closer to examine the weapon. "I've only seen these in historical simulations." Maya nodded, gesturing to the complex array of gears and motors that would drive the system. "But with some significant modifications, we're using modern materials for the barrel assembly, carbon ceramic composites that can handle much higher temperatures and stress than the original steel versions. The feed system is completely redesigned to prevent jamming, and the targeting computer is state-of-the-art. But the basic principle remains the same," Marcus added, a note of wonder in his voice. "Mechanical simplicity combined with overwhelming volume of fire." A violent tremor shook the workshop, causing tools to clatter against workbenches. Maya steadied herself against the fabricator as Colonel Chen's voice filled the facility again. "They're getting impatient. 3 Zarkaks dropships just breached the upper atmosphere. We have incoming." Maya's hands flew across the control panel, increasing the fabricator's speed at the risk of overheating. "We need more time." "Time is the one thing we don't have," Chen replied grimly. "Their ground forces will be here within the hour. Whatever you're building, Maya, it better work." The engineering team moved with renewed urgency, each person understanding the stakes. As they worked, Maya's mind raced through calculations and contingencies. The prototype was just the beginning. They needed a complete weapons system, ammunition production facilities, and a strategy to deploy them effectively. Dr. Webb, she called out to Marcus, who was sorting through more archived specifications. What do we know about Zarkak's combat tactics? Any weaknesses? The historian pulled up several holographic displays showing analysis of the alien ships. They rely heavily on personal shield technology and precision energy weapons. Their combat doctrine emphasizes technological superiority over numerical advantage. They're not used to facing enemies who can match their firepower. Then we won't match it, Maya said, a plan forming in her mind. We'll overwhelm it. Kai, reconfigure the colony's manufacturing plants. We need to start mass-producing ammunition as soon as the prototype is complete. Another impact rocked the facility, stronger this time. Through the workshop's armored windows, Maya could see 3 Zarkak's dropships descending through the orange-tinted sky, their crystalline hulls refracting the binary star's light into dazzling patterns. The fabricator chimed, indicating the completion of another component. Maya lifted the finished piece, a redesigned firing mechanism that incorporated both ancient mechanical principles and modern material science. It represented humanity's greatest strength, the ability to learn from the past while innovating for the future. Colonel, she called over the comm. We'll have the first unit operational in 20 minutes, but we need a test target. Oh, you'll have targets, Chen responded, the sound of emergency klaxons bleeding through her transmission. Zarkak's ground forces are deploying 5 kilometers from the perimeter. They're moving in standard assault formation, exactly as the tactical simulations predicted. Maya smiled grimly as she assembled the final pieces of the prototype. The Zarkaks were about to learn that predictability could be fatal when facing an innovative enemy. They expected to find a primitive colony armed with obsolete weapons. Instead, they would face a hybrid of old and new technology that their advanced shields had never been designed to stop. Everyone clear the test range, she ordered, wheeling the completed prototype toward the firing station. Let's show our visitors why humanity's history is just as dangerous as its future. Counter-strike. The first Zarkak's assault wave advanced across the rocky plain with mechanical precision, their crystalline armor refracting the dual sunlight into thousands of dancing points. Through her targeting scope, Maya counted at least 200 infantry units, backed by what appeared to be hovering artillery platforms. Their formation was perfect, exactly as their tactical doctrines demanded, and exactly as she had hoped. They're in range. Colonel Chen's voice crackled through the command channel. The colonel had positioned their limited forces in a horseshoe formation around the colony's main approach, using the natural rock formations for cover. All units hold fire until my mark. Maya made a final adjustment to the prototype's targeting system. Beside her, Kai monitored the power distribution while Marcus provided real-time analysis of the enemy's movements. The weapon hummed quietly, its hybrid systems representing a bridge between Earth's martial past and humanity's innovative present. Enemy units deploying personal shields, Marcus reported, his eyes fixed on the sensor readings. Energy signatures suggest multi-layer defensive matrices, calibrated for both energy weapons and high-velocity projectiles, but not calibrated for what we're about to hit them with, Maya replied, her hand steady on the control panel. Their shields are designed to deflect or absorb individual high-energy impacts. They've never faced anything like this. The Zarkak's commander's voice boomed across the battlefield, amplified by their advanced technology. Your time has expired, primitives. Your defiance is noted, but futile. Surrender now, and we may yet show mercy. Colonel Chen's response came in the form of a single word: now. Maya engaged the prototype's firing system. The weapon's ancient mechanical heart, enhanced by modern materials and power systems, roared to life. A storm of projectiles erupted from the multiple rotating barrels, each round accelerated by both mechanical force and electromagnetic enhancement. The sheer volume of fire was unlike anything seen in modern combat. The effect on the Zarkak's front line was immediate and devastating. Their personal shields, designed to handle single powerful impacts, were overwhelmed by the sustained barrage of smaller projectiles. The first rank of alien warriors fell back in disarray, their perfect formation shattered by the unexpected assault. "Shield frequencies are fluctuating," Marcus called out, excitement creeping into his usually calm voice. "They're trying to adapt, but their systems can't handle the continuous impact pattern." Through her scope, Maya watched as the Zarkaks attempted to regroup. Their hovering artillery platforms moved forward, energy weapons charging with a visible purple glow. But before they could fire, secondary prototypes positioned along the colony's perimeter opened up, creating interlocking fields of fire that forced the alien forces to scatter. "All units, advance under covering fire," Chen ordered. Colonial defense forces emerged from their positions, armed with a mixture of conventional weapons and Maya's hybrid designs. The Zarkaks, their formation broken, found themselves caught between multiple firing solutions, unable to effectively counter weapons that violated their understanding of human technological capabilities. "High Commander," Maya broadcast on an open channel, allowing herself a moment of satisfaction. "Still think we're primitive." The alien response came in the form of concentrated energy beams that sliced through the air, forcing Maya and her team to duck behind their reinforced position. But even as the Zarkaks launched their counterattack, she could see their confusion. Their tactics, reliant on technological superiority, were failing against an enemy that had effectively weaponized their own assumptions. "They're pulling back," Kai reported, monitoring the battlefield displays. "Regrouping at their dropships." "They'll be back," Chen stated grimly. "And next time they'll be ready for these weapons. Maya, please tell me you have more surprises in development." Maya was already pulling up new schematics on her tablet. The prototype exceeded expectations, but you're right. They'll adapt. That's why we're not going to give them time to analyze and counter our technology. Kai, begin production on Mark II. Marcus, I need everything you have on their ground vehicle designs. As her team rushed to implement the next phase of their defense, Maya studied the retreating Zarkaks forces. The aliens had expected to find a primitive colony clinging to obsolete technology. Instead, they had encountered humanity's true strength, the ability to take the lessons of the past and forge them into weapons for the future. "Colonel," she called over the command channel, "I need 2 hours to get the next phase ready. Can you hold them?" "We'll do more than hold them," Chen replied, and Maya could hear the smile in her voice. "We're going to push back. All units, prepare for counteroffensive. Let's show the Galactic Empire that humanity's history of warfare didn't make us primitive, it made us dangerous." The binary stars cast long shadows across the battlefield as New Horizons defenders moved to secure their victory. In orbit, the massive Zarkak ships hung motionless, their crystalline surfaces reflecting the light of 2 suns. They had come expecting an easy conquest, but were instead witnessing a truth that countless others had learned throughout human history. Technological superiority meant nothing when faced with innovative thinking and the will to survive. Maya turned back to her workshop, her mind already racing with new ideas. The first battle had been won, but the war was far from over. The Zarkaks would return with new tactics and technologies. But that was fine. Humanity had plenty of history left to weaponize. Empire's fury. The sky above New Horizon turned purple with energy discharges as 5 more Zarkaks capital ships dropped out of hyperspace, their crystalline hulls forming a deadly constellation against the binary stars. Maya watched from the colony's command center as hundreds of dropships began their descent, far more than their initial estimates had predicted. "They're not just sending reinforcements," Marcus said, his voice tight as he analyzed the sensor data. "This is a full battle fleet. The Zarkaks are making an example of us." Colonel Chen studied the tactical display, her face illuminated by the holographic projections of enemy movements. "They're wounded. We bloodied their nose, and now the entire Empire knows that a primitive human colony fought back effectively. They can't allow that story to spread." Maya's fingers flew across her console as she directed the colony's automated manufacturing systems. The prototype weapons had proven their worth in the first battle, but now they faced an enemy that had adapted to their tactics. The Zarkak's ground forces were deploying with modified shield configurations, and their new formations showed they had learned from their previous encounter. "Status on the Mark III?" Chen asked, not taking her eyes off the approaching enemy fleet. 70% complete. Maya responded, "But we're running out of raw materials. The new ammunition requirements are straining our fabrication capabilities to the limit." A massive explosion rocked the command center as the first wave of Zarkak's bombers made their run. The colony's shields flickered and held, but the power drain was enormous. Through the armored windows, Maya could see the alien forces advancing under cover of their artillery, no longer in rigid formations, but in fluid, unpredictable patterns that would make their original weapons less effective. "They're targeting our power grid," Kai reported from his station, his hands dancing across multiple control interfaces. "These aren't random strikes. They've identified our weak points." Another explosion, closer this time. Emergency lights flashed as secondary systems kicked in. Maya's mind raced through calculations and possibilities. The Zarkaks had learned, had adapted. But that was exactly what she had been counting on. "Colonel," she said, pulling up a new set of schematics, "I need every non-essential power cell we have. And I need them now." Chen raised an eyebrow. "You want to drain our backup power?" "Maya, we're barely keeping the shields up as it is. Trust me." Maya's eyes gleamed with the light of inspiration. "They think they've figured us out, that they've countered our primitive weapons. But they're still thinking like the Zarkaks, looking for the advanced technology, the hidden energy weapons. They haven't truly understood what makes humanity dangerous." The colonel studied her for a long moment, then nodded sharply. "Do it, but make it count. We won't get another chance." The next hour was a blur of activity as Maya's engineering team worked frantically to implement her plan. The Zarkaks pressed their attack, their improved tactics pushing New Horizons' defenders back step by step. The colony's outer perimeter fell, then the secondary defense line. But even as they retreated, Maya's people were laying the groundwork for their counterstroke. "They're starting their final push," Marcus reported, his voice hoarse from calling out enemy movements. The tactical display showed massive concentrations of Zarkak's forces moving into position for what they clearly intended to be the killing blow. Maya looked up from her work, sweat streaking her face. "Perfect. They're exactly where we need them to be." She keyed her comm unit. "All engineering teams, clear the forward sectors. Colonel, on your mark." Chen's voice rang through the command channel. "All defenders, fall back to final positions. Prepare for Protocol Omega." The Zarkaks advanced with confidence born of superior numbers and technology. Their energy weapons carved glowing paths through the colony's defenses, their modified shields shrugging off the desperate fire from the remaining hybrid weapons. High Commander Vextol's voice boomed across the battlefield, heavy with the weight of assumed victory. "Your resistance ends now, humans. You have fought well, for primitives, but the outcome was never in doubt. The Zarkak's empire cannot be defeated by recycled antiquities and desperate innovations." Maya allowed herself a grim smile as she entered the final command sequence. "You're right about one thing, Commander. This ends now." She looked to Colonel Chen. "Ready." Chen nodded once. "Execute Protocol Omega." Across the battlefield, hundreds of seemingly abandoned power cells activated simultaneously. But instead of providing emergency power, they had been modified using principles from humanity's earliest experiments with electricity. The resulting electromagnetic pulse was crude by modern standards, and that was exactly why it worked. The Zarkak's shields, calibrated to resist sophisticated energy weapons, were completely unprepared for such a primitive form of attack. The alien army's advanced systems crashed in a cascade of failures. Personal shields flickered and died. Energy weapons went dark. Communication networks dissolved into static. And in that moment of chaos, New Horizons defenders emerged from their positions with Maya's latest creation, a hybrid weapon that combined the devastating simplicity of ancient human artillery with modern materials and targeting systems. The battle that followed would be remembered as one of the most one-sided engagements in human military history, but not in the way the Zarkax had expected. Their superior technology had become a liability, their reliance on advanced systems their greatest weakness. In trying to counter humanity's primitive weapons, they had made themselves vulnerable to an even more basic form of warfare. Maya watched through the command center's windows as the Empire's grand assault crumbled into retreat. But even as their forces fell back in disarray, she was already working on new designs. The Zarkax would return. Wounded pride would demand it. But next time, humanity would be ready with yet another lesson from their long history of warfare. Victory through innovation. Dawn broke over New Horizon as the binary stars painted the sky in sheets of orange and blue. The aftermath of battle was evident everywhere. Impact craters pockmarked the landscape. Destroyed Zarkax vehicles lay scattered across the battlefield, and the colony's outer structures bore the scars of energy weapons. But the human settlement still stood, defiant against the remaining Empire ships that hovered in high orbit. Maya stood in her workshop, surrounded by her team as they monitored the long-range sensors. The Zarkax fleet had withdrawn to a defensive position, their crystalline ships forming a blockade that cut off New Horizon from any potential reinforcements. But they hadn't retreated entirely, something that puzzled the colony's leadership. They should have either withdrawn completely or launched another assault by now, Colonel Chen said, studying the tactical displays. This waiting isn't like them. Marcus looked up from his analysis of intercepted communications. They're talking among themselves. A lot. The encryption is heavy, but the volume of transmission suggests serious debate. They're trying to understand what happened, Maya said, making final adjustments to their latest defensive installations. Everything they knew about technological progression told them we should have been easy to defeat. Instead, we shattered their fundamental assumptions about warfare. The command center's main screen flickered to life, displaying an incoming transmission. High Commander Vextol's image appeared, but something had changed in the alien leader's bearing. The previous arrogance had been replaced by something that looked almost like curiosity. New Horizon Colony, Vextol began, his musical voice carrying an unfamiliar note of uncertainty. We request dialogue. Chen raised an eyebrow, but nodded to the communications officer to open a channel. This is Colonel Chen. We're listening. Your methods of warfare are unprecedented. Vextol continued. Our analysis teams have studied your weapons, your tactics. They defy conventional logic. You advance by looking backward. You innovate by embracing obsolescence. This paradox requires explanation. Maya stepped forward. Commander, your empire measures progress by how far you've moved from your past. Humanity measures it by how well we've learned from ours. Every war, every battle, every triumph and failure in our history taught us something. We don't abandon those lessons just because we've developed better technology. The alien commander was silent for a long moment. Your colony's defenders killed none of our soldiers. Your weapons, while effective, were designed to disable rather than destroy. Even when victory was within your grasp, you showed restraint. Because this didn't have to end in destruction, Chen replied. We defended ourselves, proved our worth. Now we're giving you the chance to prove yours. Another pause, longer this time. When Vextol spoke again, his voice carried the weight of someone reassessing long-held beliefs. The Empire has encountered many species, conquered many worlds. Always, we judged them by their technological advancement. Those who seemed primitive, we subjugated. Those who matched us, we respected. But you have shown us that we may have been measuring advancement by the wrong criteria entirely. Maya shared a look with Chen before responding. Technology is just a tool, Commander. True advancement lies in how you use it, and in understanding that sometimes the old solutions are still the best ones. Humanity doesn't just remember its history. We learn from it, build on it, combine it with the new in ways that create something greater than either past or present alone. Perhaps, Vextal said slowly, there is wisdom in this perspective that the Empire has overlooked in its rush to abandon all things deemed primitive. The commander straightened, seeming to come to a decision. I am authorized to offer terms, not of surrender, but of alliance. The Empire's technology combined with humanity's unique approach to innovation could benefit both our species. Colonel Chen smiled. We'll need to contact Earth Command for any formal agreements, but speaking for New Horizon Colony, we're willing to talk. As the diplomatic discussions began, Maya returned to her workshop. The prototype weapons that had defended the colony were being dismantled, their components analyzed by both human and Zarkax engineers working side by side. But she was already drawing up new designs, combining Empire technology with human ingenuity in ways neither species had imagined before. They still don't quite understand, do they? Marcus asked, watching the aliens examine the hybrid weapons with a mixture of confusion and respect. They will, Maya replied, pulling up the schematics for her next project. The Zarkax spent centuries trying to escape their past. We're going to teach them how to embrace it instead. She smiled as she saw one of the alien engineers discover the elegant simplicity behind their supposedly primitive designs. Sometimes the best way to move forward is to remember where you came from. Above New Horizon, the binary stars continued their eternal dance, casting light on a colony that had proved humanity's greatest strength wasn't in its technology, but in its ability to learn from everything that had come before. The Zarkax Empire had arrived expecting to find primitives clinging to obsolete weapons. Instead, they had discovered that true innovation meant understanding that no knowledge, no matter how old, was ever truly obsolete.